Hello and welcome to Elena Meets the Author. This podcast explores how authors create a world that we can escape into. Join me as we demystify the magic that keeps us turning the page. Hello and welcome to Elena Meets the Author. I'm your host, Elena Bose. Today, I'm speaking with New York Times bestselling author Allegra Goodman about her latest novel, This Is Not About Us, a national bestseller and a Late Show with Stephen Colbert book club pick. This Is Not About Us starts with a squabble over an apple cake when one sister bakes a much better cake than the other. Their estrangement affects 3 generations of the Rubinstein family for many years. The story is a portrait of a modern American family set on the East Coast, centering around 2 elderly sisters, Helen and Sylvia. The third sister, Jeanne, the family matriarch, dies in the first chapter. As the Wall Street Journal puts it, it's a story about 3 generations bound by love, rituals, and guilt trips. In each chapter of Goodman's delightful, funny, and relatable novel, we get to know a different member of the Rubinstein family. From octogenarian Helen, who says exactly what people need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear, to 6th grader Lily, who wishes she lived in a different century and that her parents hadn't gotten divorced. This is the second time I've spoken to Goodman in less than a year. I spoke to her last July about her completely different and wonderful historical novel, Isola, where a French noblewoman loses all her money and is forced to live on a remote island. And here, we have a sprawling Jewish family constantly visiting each other for a birthday or a bat mitzvah or a recital of some sort. Same author, 2 entirely different books, both exceptional in their own way. Allegra, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great to have you back. Can you tell us how the idea of this book came to you?
The book really started with the first chapter, which is the apple cake chapter, with apple cake incident, I should call it. I started it actually more than 10 years ago. So this book was written over a long period of time, even though it was published just a year after my last novel. And it was a time when my youngest child was taking a rowing class on the Charles River, the community boathouse. We live in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And the rowing class was 3 hours every Sunday morning. And I decided to just try writing a story during that time about a family. And I was sort of working in Starbucks across the road from the river, the community boathouse. And I started writing about Jeanne and Helen and Sylvia and this feud that starts to develop after Jeanne's death. And as I was writing about this family gathering at the sickbed of Jeanne, the matriarch, I started thinking about each member of the family and thinking, I really want to pursue each of them, and began to imagine writing a book about this family. And so from that little sapling, the book grew like a tree.
So that chapter appeared in the New Yorker in 2014. Did you, when you were, waiting for your daughter at rowing, did you really envisage all these different storylines that came later, kind of during that time period?
I envisioned just the beginning of them. I couldn't envision everything that was going to happen. So I ended up writing this book for over 10 years, very gradually. But I started thinking, in that, all the seeds of the storylines are in that first chapter. Richard is going through a divorce, we hear, Steve has these 2 boys who are teenagers who are crazy about soccer. There's a girl the granddaughter named Phoebe, who plays the violin and is very environmentally minded. So the beginnings of those characters were there, but it took time for me to explore and develop each of those stories.
That's great. There is a lot of humor in this book. People say one thing, but are thinking of another. Was this novel as much fun to write as it was to read?
Yes.
Did you have a good time? It felt like you did.
I had a really good time. I laughed when I was writing it, and I enjoyed, it's funny. It's funny, sad, poignant at times. I was interested in sort of the absurdities of family life, the paradoxes, as you put it very well, people don't always say what they mean, and people don't always mean what they say. And I like playing with that. And so, I could hear these people talking to each other and squabbling together. And I knew them really well as I was writing. And that is always fun.
And one of the things I was thinking is you have a real gift for dialogue and also interior monologue. Do you read aloud to yourself? And also, are you an amazing eavesdropper?
I sort of mutter them to myself as I am writing them, and I hear them in my head. And I would say that I sort of perform these voices. So it's like writing a play for me. So dialogue is a really big focus of mine, and interior monologue, and it's the voices of these people that drive the story. I do eavesdrop, not so much to recreate actual conversations, but I'm interested in sort of the rhythms of daily speech and, how an 11-year-old might talk, how an octogenarian might respond, all of that informs my work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your 11-year-old feels very spot on to me because she's so literal with all her understandings. All her questions are very literal and it's very funny. And I mean, every age group, you've got 3 generations. I loved all the different dialogue. So I have to say that I loved all your characters, especially though, the overthinking, anxious grandmother, Sylvia, and the inquisitive, perpetually starving 11-year-old Lily. Did you have any favorite characters?
I have to say, I don't have a favorite. I love them all, and I love the interactions between them. So I feel like there's pieces of me in each of them, the old, the young, the men, the women, but I don't have a particular favorite. Different readers have different favorites.
Do you happen to have 2 sisters?
I only have one sister. And the book is dedicated to her. And my sister is very funny also. And she said, I noticed that you dedicated this book to me. And this is a book about sisters who have this terrible falling out. And, she was laughing about that. But there are multiple pairs of sisters in the book. Helen and Sylvia have this rift, but also Deborah is close with her sister, Becca, and Lily, has her moments with her sister, Sophie, but ultimately they are pretty close.
Yeah. And even Heather.
Yes.
She seems like she might be close to her 2 sisters.
Yes, she does. Yes.
Quick pause if you're enjoying this conversation. I've started an exciting optional paid newsletter called Behind the Stories. It curates the most inspiring insights from the podcast, and it's also where subscribers can get an early peek into upcoming guests and be involved in the conversations before episodes are recorded. It's a way to support the show and not miss what's coming next. You'll find the link in the show notes. Now, back to the episode. The title, This Is Not About Us. I thought it was perfect on 2 ways. What family is perfect? I am one of 3 siblings, so I saw a lot of my family in this book. Did the title come easily to you?
It's funny. So the title is the title of one of the stories in the book. One of the pieces in the book is called This Is Not About Us. And that came easily to me for that story because that story is about the bat mitzvah of Lily, and her father, who is divorced, is dating her bat mitzvah tutor. And the tutor, Heather, and her father, Richard, Lily's father, Richard, have not gone public with the fact that they're dating each other. And, they say to each other, let's wait until after the bat mitzvah. This is Lily's day. We don't want to overshadow it. This is not about us. So that title came easily for that story. Then I thought, what am I going to name this whole title of the whole book? And it was my sister, the one I mentioned, Paula, who came up with the idea of using that title for the whole book. And of course, it has a different resonance as the title of the whole book. And I loved it because it's so playful, and you can say it allows deniability, right? When I finished the book, my daughter, who lives and works in London, my youngest child, the one who was in the rowing class, she's now grown up.
Yes.
And I sent her the book, and I said, and she called me and she said, I think it's really cute that you titled the document, This Is Not About Us, to reassure the family. And I said, I wasn't trying to reassure the family. That's the title of the book. And there was this kind of long pause, and she said, it is about the family.
But I mean, it is very recognizable. Families are so foundational to our experience. Yeah. And I noticed in one of your chapters, the one about the college essay application, and I can't remember what that's called.
Challenge you have overcome.
A challenge you have overcome. Oh, exactly. What is a typical college essay question? And the mother, who is the college advisor, has these topics that you're not allowed to bring up.
Right.
Because everybody knows these things. These are too boring because they happen to every family, or they're too common. And they're all the things that happen in this book, right? Well, so it's like these challenges are too mundane. They're not mundane, but they're not, you didn't walk across the Sudan.
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
It's a great title.
Thank you.
Would you mind reading a scene for us so that listeners can get an idea of your humor and dialogue?
Of course. I'll set the stage for this little scene. So This is on the holiday of Yom Kippur. And Lily, who's the young girl, I think she's about 12 in this scene, she's not feeling great during the service. It's a long service. Her grandparents take her. They are the kind of Jews who go to synagogue once a year on this day, Yom Kippur, which is a very solemn day, a time when people reflect on their lives, the things that they've done, the things they haven't done, a time when you might think also about those departed, from the family. And so her grandmother volunteers to take Lily out of the service, and she starts driving in her big car. And Lily's like, "Where are we going?" She drives her to the cemetery, and Lily's a little shocked. And it turns out that she takes her to the graves of her parents. So that would be Lily's great grandparents. And she takes them to the graves because this is something that Sylvia, the grandmother, does every Yom Kippur, apparently, that she goes and she talks, she communes with her parents, and she thinks about her parents because she misses them, of course. And so in the Jewish tradition also, when you visit a cemetery, you often put a stone on top of the gravestone as a sign of respect, as a sign of you thinking about them. So this is what's happening. The two of them are in the cemetery, Lily and her grandmother Sylvia. And Sylvia tells Lily to put a stone on the gravestone. So Lily finds a pebble. "No, not that one. That's too small." Sylvia sounds insulted. Lily pries a bigger rock from the mud. "It's round on the bottom, but rough on top." "Go ahead," Sylvia says. "Put it right there." Cautiously, Lily places the rock on top of Lillian's granite stone. "And now find one for Great-Grandpa Morris," Sylvia says. Lily finds another rock and places that one too. Then she looks up hopefully, but her grandma isn't done. She just stands there. At last, Sylvia sighs. "Well, here we are." Lily says, "Yes, it's a cold, cold day." "Really cold," Lily agrees. "And I miss you," Sylvia says. Then Lily realizes that her grandma isn't talking to her. She is talking to her parents in their graves. "I miss confiding in you," Sylvia says. "I miss your advice. I'm not like Jeanne and Helen. I don't always know better than everybody else. And now Jeanne is gone, and Helen might as well be." Her voice trembles. "I would forgive her, but she won't let me." For several minutes, Sylvia stands there. When she speaks again, her voice is wobbly. "We're scattered. Some of us in Boston, some in New Jersey, Brooklyn. I hardly see Richard and the girls." "Grandma?" Lily says, because she is right there. Sylvia amends, "Except for the occasional holiday." She opens her pocketbook and extracts her phone. Is she texting Lily's dad? Is she going to tell him we're on our way back and not to worry? No. She holds up her phone to show photos to Morris and Lillian lying underground. "This is the dinner we had for Lou's old law clerks. That was a wonderful occasion. This is Lou making a speech. And here's a picture of us at CJP, the fundraiser. We went to Paris in April. These are all photos from that trip. Here's Notre Dame and the Tuileries. See the fountain? We met a wonderful couple who know the Goldbergs. These were our peonies this year, the best we've ever had." Sylvia lingers over the next picture, and then she pans her phone from left to right so that both graves can get a look. "This is the girls and Cousin Phoebe and her boyfriend Wyatt at Tanglewood. We had a lovely time." If Lily had her phone, she would be texting her mom, "Help!" Because does her grandma really believe her parents can see these pictures and hear what she is telling them? Is she going crazy? "Mother, I made the Grosinger honey cake," Sylvia says. "It was perfect, but I used walnuts." "You don't like them, but they add something. Right, Lily?" Lily nearly jumps. "I have Lily here," Sylvia tells her parents. "Lily, do you have anything to say?" Lily shakes her head. You've got a bat mitzvah next month, Sylvia prompts. Do you want to tell about that? But all Lily wants to do is run away. She's shy, Sylvia says. She doesn't like to talk. We're hoping she grows out of that. She frowns at Lily. All right, that's it, Sylvia tells her parents. Just remember, I think about you all the time.
Thank you very much. Two different people, very well portrayed. I mean,
Thank you.
it's very good, very good. In the final chapter, in the first chapter, I had a question where the dying matriarch, Jeanne, tells her environmental, beautiful granddaughter, Phoebe, that she says to write down the ocean. And that's all she says.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand. I was like, what did she mean by that? Is it just sort of something beautiful that's out there? Or what was that sentence?
I think where that came from was that Jeanne, she's thinking about the things that she loves. And she remembers the sunlight. She remembers the ocean. She remembers the world, and she doesn't want to leave any of those things. So that is on her mind. And so she doesn't have a lot of words left. So she just says, write down the ocean. That's why she says that.
Okay. Music is something that I think sort of, despite all the griping and complaining, that is something that when Phoebe plays the music, and maybe Jeanne was as good a violinist before, it transcends. They all kind of forget all their squabbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, music is important to this family. And Sylvia and Helen both have subscriptions to the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And of course, they go to Tanglewood. It is important to them, and some of them are musical. And I think it was a way to talk about their spiritual life. Again, not all of them believe in God. Not all of them are practicing observant Jews, but that's a dimension to them that I was interested in. And it's very spiritual for them.
You have a marvelous quote when two of the middle generation brothers are fighting during Passover. Mm. Was this just a brief skirmish or the beginning of a 30-year feud? Mm. In the Rubinstein family, it could go either way. Can you talk about this and why perhaps family dramas take so much headspace?
Yeah, I mean, this is a family that unfortunately they bear grudges sometimes, and they're stubborn. And, Helen and Sylvia really should make up, and everyone in the family tells them that. They say life is too short. You only have one sister left. Why are you not speaking to her anymore? And they could comfort each other instead of being driven apart. But one thing that I've noticed in the real world is that when people are stressed and when people are in crisis or when people are going through emotional turmoil, it doesn't always, they don't always rise to the occasion, and we don't always comfort each other and do the right thing. And sometimes it drives us apart instead. And, to me, it's unfortunate, but it's also real. And, I hope that someday they'll reconcile, but, that's not really their style, And I should say that the feud begins with this issue about the apple cake and the recipe, but of course it's not really about that. They're punishing each other because they're grieving for their lost sister. And that's unfortunately the way that they found to grieve her, is to blame each other and strike out at each other instead of drawing together.
Uh-huh.
So, it's sad. Yeah. It's absurd. It's funny, mostly sad.
But then you see in the future generations that's probably not gonna, it doesn't seem like it's gonna happen, because maybe with the two sisters, with Sophia and Lily.
I think Lily, they're very different people, Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They're very different people. So I listened to one of your interviews where you talk about the significance of the name Rubinstein.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, my parents love music, and my mother is passed away now, but she was a very good pianist, and she used to play Chopin all the time when I was growing up. And her favorite interpreter of Chopin was Arthur Rubinstein, and she had records of his, and she would play these records all the time. And so when I actually named the family the Rubinsteins in honor of her and her love of Arthur Rubinstein, and it has that sort of musical tie-in.
Oh, that's very, very cool. But I didn't mean that. So that's another element that I didn't know. I meant the connection to rubies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So there's
So,
two.
yes. Well, what I've said to people, and I believe this, is that, well, Rubinstein means ruby stone. And I really thought when I was writing this book that it was like having, like the family was like a gem. And I was holding this gem up to the light and turning it so that you could see the different facets of the family, the grandmother, the son, the granddaughter, the cousin, the aunt, the uncle, all of these. And I love the idea of like just looking at this family from multiple perspectives. And so I take different points of view in the book. And it's a way for me to say also, there are no like heroes or villains in this book. There are people who are grumpier. There are people who are difficult. They're all sort of good people. They're flawed, just like all of us, and they're complicated, just like all of us. And they do dumb things sometimes, just like all of us. But to me, they were all facets of this family.
I love that. And you have there are parts where we're talking about Richard and his ex-wife before we meet the ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she seems like a typical, but he bitches about her.
Yeah.
And she seems kind of annoying, and she won't let him take the dog when it's his weekend to have the children. And, the children love the dog and he loves the dog. And I remember thinking, gosh, that's quite selfish of her. And then you see it from her angle, that, you're shining the light on a different facet of the ruby. And I completely got her.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Everybody has a different, it's one's interpretation, and then you see why someone behaves that way. And it was very human.
I really enjoyed doing
it.
that. We begin with Richard's perspective, and he's a good person, and he loves his children, and he loves his dog. And, but then you get Deborah's point of view, and, she is not a bitch. She's not a bad person. She's also loving in her way. And you see that they can't be together, but, again, no heroes or villains. It's just a matter. And then the reader gets to, what I like is that the reader gets to have this expanded view as you read on, you see more and more.
Then you see them together.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was the thing, is she was very sad, but she didn't want him back.
No,
not at all. That wouldn't have worked, but still, it's still hard.
Yeah,
there's loss there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And when she tells her family that, of course, she's keeping the family album, she's not getting rid of it. It was a part of her life.
That's right.
So I was hoping, because might there ever be a sequel?
Yes.
I think your readers would love it.
I guess I know. I think I've said what I want to say about them, but never say never. Who knows? One of them might pop up someday. But
in the New Yorker.
I feel like I've done my work here, and I'm very flattered when people are interested. A reader wrote to me, "Is there going to be a sequel? I don't want to let go of them," and that's the best compliment. So sweet.
Very sweet. Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with Charlie, the baby.
Yes.
That's right. It goes from death to birth, divorce, and then there's graduation. I mean, there's ballet. There's so many
college admissions.
Birthdays.
There's a lot of milestones.
A lot of milestones. College admissions, especially, that was very funny because his mother was the college advisor.
Yeah. So, when the mother is like a college admission, private, expensively paid college admission counselor. And of course, her child is the one who refuses to get any help or advice,
Yeah. That was very funny. And I was kind of hoping he might still get in. I was like, just because he didn't say anything, maybe he's going to surprise them. But anyway.
Well, that's what his dad is hoping.
Yeah, exactly. So are you working on something now that you can tell us about? Knowing you are.
I am. I'm working on a new book. I don't like to talk about them till they're done. But if you and I talk again in 3 years, I'll tell you all about it.
Oh, so this is going to be longer. This will be 3 years, most likely.
I'm still writing it. So I'm envisioning maybe 3 years from now, you and I will sit down and discuss.
Fantastic. But actually, because you do how long did Isla take you?
It took me about 3 years. Yeah.
Oh, so quick.
Well,
relative to this. But this was only on Sunday mornings.
Very slowly. But I wrote this I had a very productive period where I wrote Sam, Isla, and this one all at the same time. And this one I was only writing on those Sunday mornings. After my daughter quit the rowing class, I kept
Yeah.
those hours and kept working from 9 till noon every morning on Sundays, only on this project. And I was writing the 2 novels during the week.
And it wasn't confusing at all.
No, actually, well, they're so different. So,
Yeah. Okay. Do you work
the
7
16th
days a
century
week?
noblewoman never bled into this one.
No. But do you work 7 days a week? Or you take Saturdays
I don't work
off?
on Saturdays. So I work, so
Okay.
during this period, I was working Monday to Friday on the novels. And then Sundays, I was working on this in the mornings. And I don't work at all on Saturdays. And I don't work at night either.
Oh, you don't? Oh, that's right. You're a big morning person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see what the future holds. I don't know if I'll be writing multiple books at once. That was a very interesting time.
Yeah, that was amazing. I really enjoyed reading both of them. And I heard you say to someone, it's like being an actress or an actor.
Yes.
You just have to, because people shouldn't be surprised that you can do such different books.
Well, I think of it as a performance, and I perform all the different roles. And what I'd say to people is, it's sort of like if you met an actor, they might say to you, "I'd like to play as many different parts as possible. I'd like to, expand my reach and everything." And that's what I do. I'm not embodied in the way an actor is, and I don't see my audience as fast as an actor on the stage would. But I think of it as a performance. And so, yeah, thank you. I'm so happy you love them both.
I did. So the story idea that I don't want you to tell me what it is. Did it just, again, though, come to you, these ideas? Like, I remember Isola came to you. There was a sort of a specific, you were reading to your children about something when you went to Canada.
Yeah.
And this one, the family just appeared to you. Is it sort of like it, or was it triggered by something specific that you saw?
That's a good question. I think there's always sort of a trigger from real life. I had experienced some deaths of relatives, and knew a little bit about the hospice situation. And I think that may have inspired a little bit of the beginning of this book.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been to many bat mitzvahs and, had a daughter who danced, as a young girl. But everything is transformed in fiction.
Right.
It's really hard to trace all of those things, but I think I definitely draw upon what I see, what I remember, what I hear in the world around me.
So if you were giving advice to an aspiring fiction writer, what would it be?
Well, first of all, always read as much as you can. And then I would just say, listen to the way people talk, really listen to what people sound like, what real conversation sounds like. Observe as much as you can. Just look out in the world and just, you'll get all your material. It's all out there. If your subject is people, you will never run out of material.
Okay. Thank you. And then my last question is, what books have you read recently that you've loved? Assuming you've had time to read.
Lots of books. Let's see. Well, I read a very popular book called Heart the Lover, which was really fun, by Lily King, which you and many people have probably read.
Yeah.
I have a book by my friend Jeanne, wrote a book about her difficult relationship with her mother, who came from China. And it's called Bad, Bad Girl. And it's about her mother and herself. And it's about the immigrant experience. It's about a lot of things, but it's pretty good. Yeah. So that was another one I loved.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That's it for my questions today. It's so nice to see you again.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be back.
I hope you all enjoyed that episode with the bubbly and talented Allegra. I recommend that you read both Isola and This Is Not About Us. They're so different and so good. You can listen to episode 27 if you want to hear my scintillating conversation with Allegra about Isola. And all you aspiring fiction writers out there, remember Allegra's advice. Read as many books as you can, pay attention to the world around you, and use all your senses. If you write about people, there's material everywhere. And don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Stories if you want more content. There's information on that in the show notes. That's it for today. Thank you, and see you in 2 weeks.